Last time, a plate of chicken and rice cost 75 minutes of work in New York. In Lagos, it cost 303 minutes. Today, same idea, different food. Bread, because it might be the most universal thing humans eat. Almost every culture has some version of it. That makes it a fair test across very different economies. 7 countries this time, and the ranking gets turned upside down in a way I didn't see coming. Quick recap for anyone new here. I take the price of one item in a normal, everyday store, not a tourist shop. I divide it by that country's legal minimum wage per hour, not the average salary, the floor, what the lowest paid worker actually trades for the thing you're looking at on screen. It's not a perfect measure. It ignores taxes. It ignores rent. Most people don't live exactly on minimum wage, but it strips out currency confusion. It shows you something a price tag alone can't. I'm baking a simple loaf myself while we go through the numbers. Something to look at besides a spreadsheet. And I wanted to see how the same dough behaves with different flour, different methods, different countries. United States first, our baseline from last time. Federal minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. Unchanged since 2009. Everything else got more expensive around it. A standard loaf of white bread from a regular grocery store runs about $3. Bread in America is mostly a background item, the thing sandwiches sit inside of, rarely the star of a meal. Divide the price by the wage and you get 25 minutes of work for one loaf. Russia next. Minimum wage there works out to about $1.68 an hour. A loaf of bread from a regular supermarket, the plain round kind sold everywhere, costs around 75 cents. Bread carries real cultural weight in Russia. It's tied to hospitality. It's tied to basic sustenance going back generations. It shows up at nearly every meal in some form. A slice next to soup, the base of an open-faced sandwich. Divide it out and you get 27 minutes. Almost identical to the US, even though the price tag looks nothing alike. Vietnam. Minimum wage in Hanoi sits at 98 cents an hour. A loaf of bread, the crusty kind used for banh mi, costs around $1.20 at a local bakery. This isn't a random leftover. French colonial rule left baguette bread behind in the late 1800s. Over more than a century, Vietnam turned it into something entirely its own. Lighter, made with rice flour blended in. Sold from carts on nearly every street corner in the country. That comes out to 74 minutes. Nearly 3 times longer than the US, for bread that costs less than half the price. Now Nigeria. This is where it gets heavy again. Minimum wage works out to about 28 cents an hour. A loaf of bread from a local bakery costs around 90 cents. Bread here is often bought sliced and shared across a household, not treated as a personal item. Sold in loaves big enough to stretch across several meals. Divide it out and you land at 195 minutes. 3 hours and 15 minutes of work for one loaf of bread. Sit with that for a second. That's not a full restaurant meal, that's the most basic food there is. In one of the countries on this list, it costs someone over 3 hours of their life to buy it. That's roughly half a workday spent earning enough for a single loaf. Before rent, before anything else on the list. No side dishes, no drink, just bread. If numbers like that are why you keep coming back to this series, hitting subscribe means the next one just shows up in your feed. You don't have to go looking for it. That's the whole ask. Back to the data. Switzerland now. This is where the pattern flips hard. Switzerland has no national minimum wage at all. Wages are set canton by canton. Geneva's rate happens to be the highest in the country, $24.59 an hour, one of the highest hourly wage floors anywhere in the world. A loaf of bread there costs around $3.90. Expensive on the receipt, the kind of price that makes tourists wince at the till. But divide it out and you get 8 minutes. 8 minutes of work for bread in one of the most expensive countries on earth to visit. Not a typo. 8 minutes. Norway. Hospitality sector minimum wage sits around $19.50 an hour. Norway also has no government set national minimum. Wages come from union agreements by sector. Same setup as Switzerland, just a different number. A loaf of bread in Oslo costs around $4. That works out to 12 minutes. Cheaper than the US, cheaper than Russia, but slower than Switzerland. That's the part that actually surprised me. Last time in the chicken and rice video, Norway was the twist that broke the whole pattern. This time, Switzerland beats it at its own game. Last country, Egypt. This one breaks the entire format. Bread in Egypt isn't just food, it's politics. The Arabic word most commonly used for bread, aish, also means life. Same word. It's eaten at every meal, by every income level. The government has treated cheap bread as a basic right since the mid-20th century. In 1977, President Anwar Sadat tried cutting bread subsidies. It triggered nationwide riots. So intense, the government reversed the decision within days. In 2011, protesters chanted for bread alongside freedom and social justice during the uprising against Hosni Mubarak. Twice in less than 40 years. This is not a small detail. Cheap bread in Egypt is a red line no government wants to cross. Here's what that looks like in numbers. Egypt subsidizes bread so heavily that a government loaf costs 20 piastres. That's less than half a cent. The price was fixed by decree. It's barely moved since the 1980s, while everything else in the economy got more expensive around it. Egypt's minimum wage works out to about 57 cents an hour. Divide that out, and you get roughly 25 seconds of work. Not minutes, seconds. For a full loaf of bread that feeds an entire household. Now, a fair caveat, that price only applies to registered subsidy cardholders buying the government version through the ration system. A tourist can't just walk up and buy it, so it's not a perfectly clean comparison to a regular purchase. The unsubsidized version of the same bread, sold on the open market, costs closer to 2 Egyptian pounds. Still, only about 3 minutes of work. Either way you calculate it, subsidized or market rate, Egypt wins this list by a landslide. And it's not close. So here's the full order, cheapest to most expensive, in actual work time. Egypt, 3 minutes on the market rate. Switzerland, 8 minutes. Norway, 12 minutes. United States, 25 minutes. Russia, 27 minutes. Vietnam, 74 minutes. Nigeria, 195 minutes. Look at where Switzerland and the US land compared to last time. In the chicken and rice video, Norway was the surprise winner among rich countries. This time, Switzerland beats it outright. And the US, which looked perfectly reasonable last time around, suddenly sits dead in the middle of the pack for something as basic as bread. That's really what this series keeps proving video after video. No country is simply cheap. No country is simply expensive. It depends on what you're buying. It depends on who's buying it. And it depends on whether that government decided this particular food is too important to leave to the market alone. Chicken and rice told one story, bread just told a completely different one. Same 7 countries, same math. Next time, we're doing the same 7 countries with a carton of milk. Drop a guess in the comments for which country wins that one. At this point in making this series, I genuinely don't know either. Before you go, 2 quick things. If this series is your kind of thing, subscribe. It costs nothing and it means you don't miss the next one. That's really it, no catch. And I want your help picking what comes after milk. Drop a comment with one food you want compared next. Could be coffee, could be eggs, could be a full breakfast. And if you've got a country you think deserves a spot on this list, name that too. I read these. The best ones genuinely end up in the next video.